Hello and welcome to our online reflection for this week here on Liberton Kirk Online. It's lovely to be with you as always, especially for this week. Now, you're probably looking behind me and thinking, where are you this time, Elliot? I'm actually back in my childhood home back in Fife. I spent a couple of days with my loved ones this week, which is always good to catch up with folks. And it's great to come back to a place that you are very, very familiar with so many happy memories. As you can see, there's loads of pictures behind me of all the family and some other things as well behind me. But it's great to be here in a place that very much feels like home. But as you know, I don't live here anymore. I live in Edinburgh. And that took an opportunity to move out from my comfort zone here to move to a new place that I wasn't so very familiar with. And what's so unique about this week's passage is that we're going to be looking into David when he's at this type of crossroads in his life, moving from one place to the other. But hopefully, as we read it together, there's a bit of inspiration because perhaps for you, you may feel like that you're in a bit of a crossroads in your life and you don't know which way to go. Well, let's see if David can give us an example of how to tune in to God and where he is leading us. As we read together from 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 1, and it says this. After this, David inquired of the Lord, "Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah?" And the Lord said to him, "Go up." David said, "To which shall I go up?" And he said, "To Hebron." Unless you have always been in the same place for quite some time, I can imagine that for most of us who have moved quite a bit, it can be a grand operation. The idea of having to pack everything in those big brown boxes, having to hire out a big van, or indeed try and place every single box inside a tiny car, or move to a new place that we have no idea, or even to picture ourselves in, is a bit of a daunting prospect. Questions can come up and saying, will I ever get to know anyone? Will there be any opportunity for me to settle and belong? Will this place ever feel like home? I can vividly remember the first time that I left this house when I was 18, going off to Glasgow for university. And for all the parents out there, you are very much familiar with that bittersweet feeling of knowing that another one of your children has fled the nest. But even despite the excitement and newfound liberation I found in my heart, there was always those pressing questions that kept swirling in the back of my mind. But here's the thing. Even with the questions that we face ourselves when we see a potential new door opening in our lives, they can still become the very place where we can listen for God's voice, trusting Him for clarity and direction. And just before we hear David speak to the Lord, we hear that King Saul has died. But not just that, David's friend Jonathan has also died. And this took place when they were both killed in battle against the Philistines. After hearing this news, David now takes on that posture of lament, showing his grief, loyalty, and his restraint. And this is significant because David has spent years being hunted rather by Saul, yet he never took the throne by force or rejoiced in Saul's downfall. But now when we encounter this week's passage, we now see David at a crossroads. He is soon to be crowned king, but yet he is still to act upon it. But instead of taking action right off the bat, he waits and listens to what the Lord is wanting to say to him, where he wants David to go for his next big steps. And so David asks a question. Would you like me to stay here, or do you want me to go? Then when God commands David to rise and set forth, that next question that is on David's lips is this. Where would you like me to go? That's when God tells David to go to Hebron. And this was no random location. Indeed, it was one of the most important cities that was situated in the southern part of Judah. And it's important because of its historical significance at that time. That being, it was associated with Abraham and his ancestors. If we were to look further from these verses, this would be the place where David would finally be crowned as king. And so God, in his own wisdom, instructed David to go to a specific place because it was crucial in David's story, his coronation, and the life that is planned for David. So when we look on this, we can see that God, whenever he tells us to go somewhere new, it is not meaningless or futile, but rather it's an integral chapter in our lives. Only the Lord is never surprised about the situations or opportunities that he places before us. But there are some big questions that we must always be aware of when God asks us to break out of our comfort zones, of our comfortable dwellings, or wherever we are situated and to move in a new direction altogether. Do we immediately go and move somewhere or do something without first hearing what God is saying to us? Should we always be developing and using a discerning heart whenever we are at a crossroads, just like how David was? When God asks us to go into a new situation or see a new person or go to a new place altogether, do we trust in God's leading even when we don't even fully understand the outcome? Or rather, can we start to gain a heart of trust knowing that God goes before us and is fully aware of the paths that he is leading us? Not to try and set up challenges that we can never handle on our own, but rather for a specific purpose and a reason altogether. Take to heart this week that just as how David faced a new direction in his life, that whenever we tune into God, when he is speaking into our lives, he will always place before us those signposts and the markers along that way of where and who he can lead us to. All we have to do is listen carefully and above all else, step out in faith. God bless you. Hope you have a wonderful week, and until next time, take care.